Thank you, everyone, for listening. I never imagined a harmless remark would spark a chain of events I was completely unprepared for. We were having dinner, my husband, Daniel, a few coworkers, and me. The evening felt relaxed, the candles making the room glow softly, and I was in one of those rare playful moods where teasing felt easy and safe. I leaned a little toward our friend Michael, who had just come back from a trip, and with a sly little grin said, "You know, Michael, someone like you might just tempt me to leave Daniel behind." I expected laughter. Maybe Daniel rolling his eyes, with that long-suffering smile he always gave when I joked like that. For over a decade, we tossed around playful banter without issue. But instead, the table fell quiet. I looked at Daniel, waiting for his usual smirk or a light-hearted comeback. Instead, he just stared at me. His expression was unreadable, no annoyance, no amusement, just a cold, steady focus that made my skin crawl. He didn't blink. He didn't shift. He simply looked at me, and the silence stretched long enough for embarrassment to creep up my spine. Trying to recover, I laughed awkwardly. "Come on, I'm kidding. You know me." Daniel gave a tight nod and went back to eating. But the atmosphere had changed. Everyone at the table sensed it. I could feel heat rising in my face, and suddenly I noticed how stiff Daniel's posture was, the tension in his shoulders, the hard line of his jaw. When we got home, the silence between us felt heavy. I tried to lighten things again, making some dumb comment about a video I'd seen. He didn't answer. He didn't even acknowledge me. He just stood by the window, staring out as though he were somewhere far away. The next few days were worse. He wasn't angry, not visibly, but something inside him had shifted. He kept a polite distance, speaking only when necessary. He stopped greeting me with morning hugs, stopped lingering near me like he used to. Even with the kids, he was measured, controlled, almost overly careful. He was present, but it felt like he'd taken a step back into another world where I wasn't allowed. Eventually, I tried to bring it up. One evening, with a quiet voice, I asked, "Are you still upset about that joke? I didn't mean anything by it." He turned to me slowly, his eyes sharp but calm. "This isn't about a joke," he said. "It's about respect. It's about the lines you cross without thinking and how you don't notice until it's too late." My stomach twisted. I tried to speak, but he raised his hand slightly, stopping me. "I think it's time you understand what it feels like when words land in the wrong place." Then he walked out, no anger, no slamming doors. Just quiet, purposeful movement. I heard the garage door close, and the house suddenly felt hollow. The shock came the next morning when friends began calling. They were whispering, asking if things were all right, hinting that Daniel had done something after we'd left dinner. Something subtle, but impactful enough to leave everyone unsettled. I had no idea what they meant. While I moved through the house in a daze, I spotted an envelope on the counter with my name on it. Inside was a single sheet of paper, neatly folded. Daniel's handwriting read, "I hope this helps you see more clearly. Words have consequences. Take today to think. I'll be home tonight. No threats. No accusations. Just a calm, deliberate message." It scared me more than anger ever could. Throughout the day, I found myself replaying the dinner, his stare, the strange distance he'd maintained. It was sinking in slowly. He hadn't been reacting out of hurt pride or fury. He had been making a point, one he intended to deliver with precision. When he returned that afternoon, he didn't look triumphant or bitter. He simply stood there, composed, meeting my gaze like he had been waiting for me to finally understand. "I hope you took the time," he said evenly. "Respect matters. Jokes cut differently than you think." When I opened my mouth to respond, he stopped me again, not harshly, just firmly. For the next hour, he calmly explained what he'd done. He had contacted the friends who were at dinner, making small but deliberate gestures, nothing dramatic, that illustrated exactly what he had felt in that moment. Quiet authority, controlled emotion, a reminder that boundaries exist even in the gentlest relationships. Each friend had noticed instantly, and each had told him so. Listening to him, I felt a mix of shame, admiration, and an odd kind of fear. My casual joke, meant to be harmless, had exposed something about myself I had ignored. And Daniel, without raising his voice, had turned the situation into a lesson I could not forget. We didn't talk much that night. We simply sat together, the silence no longer hostile but reflective. I kept looking at him, seeing not just the man I married, but the strength he carried quietly, the steadiness I had long taken for granted. Over the next several days, the weight of everything settled. I realized how easily words can cut, how carelessly humor can step into disrespect without meaning to. Daniel hadn't punished me. He had shown me, calmly, intelligently, effectively, and I learned. Since then, I've chosen my words with more intention. Not out of fear, but out of understanding. Some jokes aren't harmless. Some boundaries are quieter than you think. And Daniel, without raising his voice, without an explosion of anger, showed everyone in that room, and especially me, just how powerful silence and self-respect can be. It marked me in a way I won't forget.